They came without warning. The Corval Dominion, lords of 6 spiral arms, slavers of 100 worlds, descended upon Varen Prime, one of humanity's youngest colonies. It was not a fortress world. It was not a military station. It was a place of farms, of children, of quiet dawns where settlers watched twin suns climb the sky. And so the Corval made their entrance, not as conquerors, but as executioners. Their fleets darkened the skies with warships that stretched like iron forests across the heavens. Their soldiers, armored in chitinous exosuits, descended in firestorms, tearing apart everything in their path. They did not demand surrender. They did not even claim the colony for tribute. They came to make a statement. The Dominion's warlord, Katharan, broadcast a single message across all frequencies as his fleets rained devastation. Humans are insects that scurry too far from their nest. Let this world serve as your reminder. You will never belong among stars that we own. Then the bombardment began in earnest. Cities burned. Oceans boiled. In 1 hour, 400,000 civilians ceased to exist. And when the smoke cleared, when the last screams faded into ash, the Corval laughed. They had not conquered. They had erased. The arrogance of empires. In their war councils, the Dominion feasted and celebrated. To them, humanity was an upstart species that had spread too quickly, too noisily, too arrogantly through the void. Varen Prime's destruction was to be a lesson, a spectacle of dominance. They shared the recordings across the galactic network. Human children crying as orbital fire consumed them. Human ships breaking apart under plasma fire. Alien courts applauded. Rival empires sneered. Lesser species cowered, knowing that if the Dominion could do this to humans, no one was safe. Earth will whimper, not roar, declared Katharan before his peers. They are traders, explorers, diplomats. Their fleets are small, their resolve fragile. They will retreat into silence, and the galaxy will learn that the Corval do not forgive trespass. For months they mocked. On every broadcast channel where humans once exchanged messages of peace and commerce, the Dominion's propaganda flowed instead. Humans speak, but they cannot act. Humans wander, but they do not fight. Humans are prey. And through it all, Earth was silent. The silence that preceded the storm. The Dominion expected frantic cries for help, desperate pleas to the Galactic Council, outraged declarations from Earth's leaders. They expected bargaining, apologies, reparations. But Earth said nothing. The colonies said nothing. The fleets of humanity moved not an inch, nor did a single transmission betray their intent. Weeks passed, then months, the galaxy whispered. Had humanity been broken? Had Earth accepted subjugation? Were they too fragile to challenge the Dominion's wrath? But in the void, far from Dominion eyes, something shifted. Shipyards on Luna began producing at triple speed. Forge worlds around Saturn burned night and day. In the Oort fringes, long-slumbering arsenals were unlocked. Old ships, relics from humanity's earliest wars, were gutted, rebuilt, reborn into something monstrous. In silence, humanity prepared. And that silence was not weakness. It was pressure. It was the drawing of breath before the scream. It was the gathering of storms greater than the galaxy had ever seen. When silence shattered, it began with a whisper. Dominion patrol fleet vanished near the Kuiper edges. Its last transmission a garbled cry, shadows in the dark. Then a trade convoy burned in orbit above an occupied world. Survivors muttering of massive ships without transponders, silent and relentless. The Corval dismissed it. Guerrillas, pirates, at worst an isolated human reprisal. They strengthened border garrisons, but they still laughed in their grand halls. Until Earth spoke. A single broadcast cut across every Dominion channel, overriding military networks, searing itself into the minds of billions. You struck at our children. You mocked our dead. You thought silence meant surrender. But our silence forged storms, and storms are coming. The message ended, but the dread it carried did not. Then, in the same breath of cosmic time, the storms broke. From Sol's heart, fleets emerged. Not the small, meager lines the Dominion remembered from centuries past, but vast armadas of steel and fury, dreadnoughts the size of cities, carrier groups that carried whole armies within their holds, swarms of autonomous war drones blackened space like locust clouds. Humanity had been silent, yes, but silence had been the crucible. Now their voice was war. The Tempest unleashed. The first Dominion stronghold to fall was Carax, a fortress moon guarded by 37 capital ships and 3 planetary defense rings. The humans did not arrive with parley. They arrived in a wall of fire. 12 dreadnoughts dropped from FTL, their drives igniting the void like novas. Human railguns thundered, lancing through battleships with tungsten spears moving at fractional light speed. Missile storms rained, each warhead carrying artificial singularities that ate through hull and shield alike. The Dominion defenders boasted of their fleets, but their fleets were unprepared for Earth's silence-born storm. Within 2 hours, Carax was ash. The moon itself split under bombardment, becoming a new asteroid field. Survivors told tales of ships that did not stop firing even when their enemies begged. Then came strike after strike. Industrial worlds turned to slag. Slave camps were cracked open, their guards obliterated, their captives freed. Human ground forces descended like thunder, exosuits gleaming, orbital drops carving fire scars across continents. Wherever they landed, they left nothing but silence behind. Not because humans had fled, but because no Dominion voice remained alive to speak. It was not retaliation. It was judgment. The shattering of the Dominion. The Dominion's mighty armadas rushed to defend their borders. Hundreds of ships, thousands, converged to halt humanity's vengeance. But storms do not halt. Human fleets split into dozens of fronts, each as devastating as the next. Artificial intelligence war corps predicted Dominion tactics before they unfolded. Swarms of drone frigates harried flanks. Human dreadnoughts cut through formations like scythes through grass. One by one, the Dominion's strongest fleets broke. At Jathor, their grand armada of 100 ships encountered only 30 human vessels. And yet, within hours, not a single Corval hull remained intact. At Joreth Prime, their planetary shields were overwhelmed by human siege engines that poured unending fire until continents cracked. The galaxy watched, horrified. They had known humans as explorers, diplomats, traders. But this was something primal, something ancient. The fury of a species wronged, patient in its silence, infinite in its vengeance. Catharan himself, the warlord who had ordered Varen Prime's extermination, fled from battlefield to battlefield. He called upon his allies. None answered. He pleaded with neutral empires. None intervened. For the galaxy now feared Earth more than the Dominion. And finally, when humanity cornered him on the Dominion capital itself, his broadcasts no longer boasted. They begged, but Earth did not bargain. The capital world burned, the silence after storms. When the fires died, the Corval Dominion no longer existed. Their fleets were wrecks drifting in dead space. Their fortresses were shattered moons. Their thrones were dust under human boots. And once again, humanity was silent. No broadcasts of triumph. No demands for tribute. No declarations of conquest. The fleets simply withdrew, leaving wreckage in their wake. The galaxy whispered again. But now the whispers were different. Never provoke Earth again. Their silence is not peace. It is the waiting storm. They are patient. They are merciless. They remember. Across the stars, empires recalculated their arrogance. Rulers who had mocked humanity purged their archives of old insults. Species that had sneered at human diplomacy now spoke only with caution, for the galaxy had learned the truth. Humanity's silence is not weakness. It is the warning, and when broken, it forges storms greater than any fleet, any empire, any crown the stars had ever seen. Humanity returned to their colonies, to their homes, to their rebuilding. But in the hearts of every other species, a new fear had taken root. The fear that Earth's silence would come again, and the unspoken prayer that it would never be shattered.